It's Doodle Day, and the pen here is a Monteverde Strata. It's been featured before in an unboxing, so a link to that video is in the description for the curious. Hi, I'm Irene, and this is Inkworks, my little cubicle in the big bad high-rise that is ArtTube. Why did I call it bad? I got carried away. That, and I've heard stories that would make a tube noob shake in her shoes. Even after nearly 3 years here, I've still got a touch of that fresh-faced, bright-eyed, and eager-to-please naivete. But I can't wait for the day I can flip the switch to grizzled veteran, take the newcomers under my wing, and pass on some sage wisdom. Oh, sweetie, this place isn't so bad. But whatever you do, do not cross a watercolorist. They may seem like the nicest people around, but put a wet brush back with its hairs up just once, and you'll never hear the end of it. You might be wondering, but Irene, what's happened to your voice? Believe me, I did not want to subject you all to this croaking chorus, but, well, I've been ill for a couple of weeks and lost my voice to boot. It's better now, but taking its time to return completely. However, I've been sitting on this footage for quite a while, and it's past time for it to leave the nest and see the world. So I brewed some tea, popped a lozenge, and jumped on the mic. This notebook is an A6 Midori MD. It's one of those fountain pen-friendly papers that show off inks at their best. So it's dedicated to pen and ink doodles. These days, I find that having plenty of notebooks and notepads around is kinda comforting. As the youngest of 8 siblings, I've noticed my 55-year-old memory isn't what it used to be. So, of course, I'm rubbing my hands together and gloating over the fact that at least I'm still the baby of the family. And having lots of handy paper means I can leave memos and reminders all over the place to help me out. There have been a handful of these pen and ink doodle sessions so far, and each time it's been an impromptu thing. This one was no different. I simply started sketching some items in my field of view that were strewn across my work table. Tubes of paint, a brush, a mixing palette, the usual. And then added some imaginary stuff to fill in the space. So I now have several Monteverde fountain pens, including the Ritma and the Monza. Well, this Strata is my favorite of the bunch. It's a little bit weighty for me, but the medium nib is nice and juicy, which made for a delightful doodling experience. Returning viewers may recognize this pen from a previous video. I guess I've already mentioned that. It was from one of Producer Mike's subscription boxes from Trufe. They may also recall that I really enjoyed it then, too. I even went so far as to suggest Producer Mike just give the pen to me, which was in both jest and seriousness. Well, he actually did let me have it, but of course, after a while, I felt bad and gave it back to him, something I wonder if he counted on. Look, I have plenty of lovely pens without having to deprive my partner of his. So that's the Strata situation as of now, in case anyone was curious. During this doodling, the ink really grew on me. It was gifted to me in a sample vial some months ago, and it's the only sailor ink in my collection. You may or may not know that blues aren't my favorite color group. I'm not going to rehash the reasons. They're personal and stem from childhood issues. I don't need a professional to tell me that. So that saves some money. The point is, this Sailor Manyo Kikyou is now one of my favorite inks. Too bad Sailor inks, like their fountain pens, are not cheap. I've just checked some prices, and it looks like it's currently $24 at 6 different online retailers. That's for a 50 milliliter bottle, by the way. I mean, it's not outrageous or anything. I'm just a little too used to Diamine's more budget-friendly 30 milliliter bottles. You know what? I might even have a similar shade from Pilot's Iroshizuku series. Okay, so I've just referred to my swatches, and it looks like Tsukiyo is close. Maybe if I added a touch of Show Row to it. Interesting. But that doesn't stop me from wanting a full bottle of Sailor Manyo Kikyou. I do like their bottle design, square and chunky with a pretty label. It reminds me of the Waringal bottle, which I also like. I am a fan of Iroshizuku's 50 ml bottles style-wise, but there's no denying it takes up shelf space. Sheesh, I should have just done a video about ink bottles, yeah. Then we could have had some appropriate visuals to accompany all of this bottle talk. On the subject of swatches, about 4 months ago, I created some swatch cards, but have since changed my mind. As far as the format goes, I mean. I know there are pre-made cards, sometimes pre-printed with designs, that are available to purchase. But I want to be thrifty about this. So I was thinking I might take Blake's suggestion. That's Blake from Blake's Broadcast. A while back, he recommended the Exacompta Bristol cards, claiming they're the best for ink swatches. Anyway, that's been on my mind, and it's sitting on my wish list. When I first started this channel, I came across a video advising creators, don't share your future plans on your channel. At the time, it made total sense. You don't want to make promises or get people excited over things that might not come to fruition. Or maybe they were warning that other people could steal your ideas. The point is, if I only talked about safe stuff that spared myself any personal embarrassment, Inkworks would have been done 3 years ago. So I gotta toss in some chaff with the wheat, because as good as it feels to unload, there are only so many childhood stories I can share before I start feeling guilty about not paying you an hourly rate. That may have come out wrong. The circular letter spelling out strata reminds me of typewriters. Yes, I used a typewriter during my teen years, in high school keyboarding class, no less, but also because my oldest brother, Al, owned one. I remember hearing him clacking away in his room, and he wasn't typing letters to the local paper. No, it was sci-fi short stories, articles, essays, and book and film reviews, some of which were published in magazines. Out of all 8 of us kids, I'd say the oldest was the most intelligent. And the youngest. Hey, I can have an opinion, especially one that's validated by the fact that I was the only one Al shared those successes with, because he knew I'd get it. Just saying. Don't worry, there won't be any "who are you calling the least intelligent" familial drama in the comments here. Not because we're above that sort of thing, but rather because they don't watch this channel. My guess? Not enough cute puppies. So, happy Thanksgiving! Or, to be precise, happy Thanksgiving horror movie streaming day. Last November, the movie Thanksgiving was in cinemas. Now it's available on Netflix. Tying into the sketchy memory thing, I couldn't remember where Plymouth is. New Hampshire? Maryland? Producer Mike had to remind me it's in Massachusetts, which explains why some of the characters sounded all Boston-y. Yeah, I'd be terrible for trivia night at the pub. Not only would I suck at the New England coastal towns category, I would also embarrass my companions by ordering the frou-frou drinks, stuff with lots of fruit juice and syrup. Wait, I was talking about the movie. I'm not really into slasher-type films, but after seeing a few reviews, it sort of sounded up my alley, and sure enough, it was entertaining. And although I'd caught on to the whodunit part early on, I was surprised by the why-done-it explanation. One thing that would have improved the movie, in my opinion, would have been a nice meal prep scene with slow pans over steaming mashed potatoes, bubbling gravy, and fluffy, flaky biscuits. The whole basting and roasting sequence near the end doesn't count. Anyway, after that, I watched some relax and craft videos with soothing music. Not that I was particularly wired. I just enjoy watching people crochet or collage or sew. When I was very young, I recall going to the fabric store with my sisters. As they figured out what they needed for their sewing projects, I sat at the back table looking through the big pattern books from McCall and Simplicity, daydreaming about all of the clothes I'd make for myself if I only had those skills. Fortunately, our mother had a sewing machine. She didn't make clothes, but she did alter and repair them when needed. But what I remember best is the tin of buttons she kept. It was a pretty large tin, one of those that originally came with either ribbon candies or butter cookies. Yeah, that was more buttons than we could have ever used. An assortment of extra buttons, salvaged buttons, and who knows where they came from buttons, collected over the years. I wonder what happened to those. I'm happy to share this pen and ink doodle session. Some things were aired, and that's okay, because some of us will have forgotten about it by tomorrow. Until next time, remember, a doodle a day keeps the doldrums away. And stay artsy, my friends.